back, everybody, to Real Talk Realty Podcast, where we put the real in real estate. I'm your host for today, Louis Namick, with
JD Crisp
and Gabby Robinson
and Rob Krop.
Well, December wrapped up not just the month, but the entire year. And 2025 was a very different market than what people expected a year ago. Today, we're going to recap the biggest topics from this month, explain what actually happened in the market, and talk about what matters heading into early 2026 for buyers, sellers, and investors.
Starting off this month, we had another Fed meeting. The Feds met in early part of December. Even before they got the jobs and inflation report, because of the government shutdown, they didn't have those reports for the next week. But they still got together and met at their allotted time, and they decided to make another quarter-point drop. That's 3 quarter-point drops in a row that have happened in the last few months. And now we're seeing interest rates have come down to about 6.18%.
And they predicted that, right?
That they were predicting that they were going to come down, and they were deciding whether or not they were going to, being that they didn't have the information that they would like to make these rate changes, but they felt confident enough that it would be a good idea, and so we're starting to see a little bit of that rate coming down. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that these rates that the Feds cut, they're based on short-term rates, and so with mortgages, that's a 30-year mortgage, and so because it's long-term, mortgage lenders have to they have to plan out how it's going to be over that period of time. And so we saw immediate cuts to credit card rates and like car interest rates and things like that, but things like the mortgages, it's definitely coming in a lot slower. Now, we're at 6.18 nationally for conventional loans, and with government loans like FHA and VA, we're seeing the high fives and even closer to those mid-ranges that you can buy down to. So
that was a big change from 2 years ago.
Massive change, especially since we were looking at almost 8% in 2023. And so what this definitely hints at is that, the Feds are saying that they don't know how many cuts they're going to do next year, but they know that they are going to make cuts. And clearly, being that Jerome Powell, his term ends around May is when he retires, they're going to be naming a new person.
Will that make a difference, you think?
I think it's going to make a big difference. I believe that they're going to try to pick somebody outside of the fold, somebody not like the Jerome Powells of this world.
They're going to pick somebody that's the total opposite, probably.
I really hope so.
Well,
yeah.
The president appointed Jerome Powell,
right
our current president,
right?
And he's going to appoint the next one
2 terms ago. So we learned earlier that it's a 10-year appointment.
Yes.
And he's coming up on his 10th year in May.
That's correct.
Yep. So, once they appoint the new person, apparently they're talking about 5 different people potentially on the roster. It is not Scott Bessent. That's what a lot of people are thinking, but Bessent has come out and said that's not going to be the case. But once that person is appointed, I do predict that what they start talking about, the lenders are going to start listening to that information on how they decide to make changes. Because ultimately, everything is just what's being talked about and what's being discussed.
The commentary drops more points than the actual Fed rate coming down.
Right.
Just the way Jerome Powell says a thing, it depends on how they're going to change the mortgage rates.
Yep.
And so, yeah, it's kind of like the stock market. The stock market goes down when people talk about these things that are going to happen, not when the thing happens.
Right.
That blows my mind, that what one person says.
We saw Elon and Doge.
Yeah.
That was insane.
Right.
So do we think that they're going to drop rates again before he finishes the term? Or
The expectation is probably over the next couple months that there will be at least one more rate drop, if not multiple throughout the year. But ultimately, I think as the new person comes in, we'll have a lot more information on what that will look like.
Yeah.
And so the following week, they had the job report came out, and the inflation jobs growth came in softer than in the previous months, which was fine was good as far as rates are concerned. Inflation still remains sticky, but it's not accelerating, meaning inflation is still higher than where they want it to be at that 2% or less, but inflation didn't increase more. And so there wasn't an additional
How far
inflation.
away are we? Do we know?
We're in the 2s.
Okay.
So, we're pretty close.
So the object is to get below 2.
The object is to get to 2 or below.
Well,
Correct.
gas prices are coming down.
Gas prices are insanely low.
Insanely low.
I was just getting gas the other day. Michelle's like, it's like $2.34 over in Washington County. I was like, what?
I heard it was $1.39. I don't know where, but
Yeah.
$1.39. Can you imagine?
It's like $1.99 in parts of Texas.
I was in Arizona in November, and it was really freaking cheap. Like, Trey was like, what?
Maybe you should keep the caddy.
I don't live in Arizona.
Oh, okay.
With that, as inflation comes down, the lenders are going to be way more apt to want to drop the rates more. That's the biggest thing, is because inflation is going to can change so many things. And when you're looking at it long term, you have to really chart out what it's going to be in the next handful of years.
Right.
Then moving on, Trump made some announcement on housing affordability. I wish he would have talked a little bit more about what he meant and what he was planning. There was a lot more conversation and speculation after his announcement. His announcement was kind of general in that they want to increase housing supply and they want to increase affordability. One of the things that they've been talking about after that meeting happened is they met with some of the home builders and talked about different ways that they could remove some regulatory friction from builders. And I think of that as like California and the Palisades, where these homes, it's still been a year and they haven't been able to.
Nothing's even going on there.
They haven't been able to do anything because there's a lot of regulatory issues that they have to go through.
Get rid of the red tape.
Exactly. And so I think they're going to try to get rid of more red tape than they are necessarily making things, less safe.
Yeah.
Hey, for the viewers out there that don't know what red tape is, somebody want to tell us what red tape is?
Tell us.
Tell us.
Tell us.
Red tape is all the bureaucracy and politics that people have to go through in order to get things done. And there's a lot of it.
There you have it.
And so one of the ways that they're going to make these affordable changes that the builders are talking to them about is building smaller homes, more like 3-bedroom homes, 1,600 square feet versus the current 2,000 plus 4-bedroom homes. There's a lot of people that are looking to be
We
in
need
single
smaller
families.
homes.
Yeah, single family homes that are smaller and more affordable, not necessarily just trying to change the pricing of the homes people have already built. And I think that that's a good way to do that, because if you were just to try to make cheaper homes, now you're going to affect the value of the homes around them.
Yeah.
And the quality.
And the quality.
Yeah.
And so this isn't about it's not about dropping the values of other homes and making less, quality properties. This is a way that, we can now sell properties that are really more what people are looking for.
Honestly, it could potentially increase the values of other small
Absolutely.
ranchers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you said that they used to build homes like that.
They used to build homes like that.
You go to Hagerstown, everything's 1,200 square feet or 1,000 square foot, but they're all from like 1965.
Right.
So D.R. Horton is actually building a lot down south, by like Alabama and Georgia, but there's just none here.
Another thing they did, they stopped building ranchers for
Yeah.
a long time.
Yeah.
And the only ones that are available are snapped up like that.
Or they're just massive ranchers with massive basements. They don't really solve the problem for the older clients that are looking to downsize, that type of thing.
Not only are they massive basements, but they're mostly unfinished.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and also they're not up to today's, floor plan standards that people have. And so people go in and it's like, this is all chopped up. Like, how am I going to use this? And it would cost a lot to make it more, open, like what people are looking for. And so having these newer, smaller homes, I think is going to be huge and will allow a lot more people to get into owning real estate.
Right. Yeah.
I think that could be a pretty good deal. I think that would be something that could help people.
Well, there are a lot of people out there that are shut out of the market right now, and that would be a great help.
Yeah.
Right now, we're in a great buyer's market, especially here in Frederick. Sellers are offering seller concessions. We're getting, money off the price. There's a lot of really good deals at the moment. Coming back to affordability for this year, we started in the high sixes, and now we're, like I was saying earlier, at 6.18. If you look at 2023, it was 7.92%. So we've almost come down 2% since then.
That's crazy.
And, we were still in the sevens in 2024. So comparing 24 to 25, we're definitely getting into a much better position. And, we're not in the same historic lows of inventory. We have a lot more inventory in the market. We're well over 2 months worth of inventory. I mean, all through the early 2020s, we were in sub 2 months worth of inventory. And so for people that don't know the, months of inventory, it's about how many months would it take to sell everything on the market. And a buyer's market would be above 6 months worth of inventory. Stable would be 6 months, and anything less than that would be a seller's market. We've been in a seller's market for quite a while, and it's been an interesting year as that's sort of changed in a lot of areas.
I think the inventory going up has a lot to do with
Massively.
a lot of people realizing now that they're never going to ever see a 2 or 3% interest rate,
Right.
Yeah.
and they need to get out of the house that they're in right now.
Well, like we were talking about earlier too, it's like, we were talking about how interest rates, now that they're coming down, you're getting close enough to those people that are secure their home. They don't want to leave their home because they have a 3% interest rate, but now they're looking at a home where maybe they can get 6%, but then have the buyer or the seller, purchase their interest rate down. Now they're closing that gap a little bit better.
Absolutely.
And able to make it, and it looks a lot more attractive than just jumping up 4 extra points.
And the builders are doing the same thing.
The builders have amazing incentives out
Yeah.
there right now.
Insane.
Yeah, closing costs, interest rate incentives. That's why we always say, if you're out there even looking at, pre-existing homes, just for the heck of it, go check out a new build and see what they can do, because oftentimes people are pleasantly surprised when they realize that, oh, wow, with all these incentives, this is a possible thing that you do.
Yeah.
And because they're buying down the rates for you, and they're buying it down for 30 years.
Yeah.
You're able to afford a lot more house,
True.
and your payment is a lot less.
Yep.
Don't discount like, hey, I've been pre-approved for resale, at 400. Well, at a much lower interest rate, 500 might not be out of the ballpark.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, you can open up a lot of options.
You might want to call your realtor.
First,
Yes.
Yeah.
First.
call your realtor.
We know all the builders. We know all the good incentives. Just call us.
Absolutely. So going into the forecast for 2026, right now we've had, verse 2024 to 2025, we had a huge increase in inventory, as we were talking about. And then 2026, the Realtor.com is projecting that there's going to be an additional 8.9% increase in active listings nationally, which is the third consecutive year of growth when it comes to listings. So this is huge. It definitely brings us into a much better position for buyers having choices. And going back to JD, what you were saying about people are just finally getting used to the rates aren't as bad. It's not as drastic, going from a 3 or 4 all the way to 7 or 8. Now we're in that 6 or maybe even into the 5s if we're on the government loans.
Government loans are in the 5s right now, which is great.
Exactly.
Yep.
But, there's people, things are forcing people to make changes. A lot of people during COVID bought properties. They offered on multiple properties and lost, and eventually they just gave in on one of the properties that they
were
settled.
just throwing spaghetti noodles against the wall until one stuck.
Yeah, they settled, and they're not happy right now.
Yeah.
they're not.
No inspections.
No inspections. The house is caving in on itself. That's a little dramatic. But
It's true that some people bought homes.
no, there's
that-
definitely were. Yeah.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
They didn't find out anything wrong until it started happening. It was too
Yeah.
late.
Yep.
So.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, things like life events, people have to move for jobs, people are downsizing, there's a lot of divorce happening. And then builders are starting to add a lot more supply into the market. So it's definitely moving in a really good direction. As far as buyers go, you're going to have a lot of options, especially here over the next couple of weeks, heading into 2026.
Yeah, I think more inventory and lower rates is going to make 2026 a booming year for real
Yeah.
estate.
There was also a lot of people that sold their house during COVID, like when they realized they were working from home, and then they would go somewhere and try to just do their job from where, and now their bosses are calling and saying mandatory come back to the office, and they're like, wait, I'm on a whole different side of the state, a whole different side of the country,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they did a migration report, and I believe DC was 4th or 5th on the migration back to.
Shoot.
So
I believe it.
definitely a lot of people coming back to our area.
yeah.
Which makes sense. A lot of these, they said, there were a lot of employers that said, no worries, we'll never ask you to come back. And then they're like, you better come back.
Yeah. That's crazy.
It sucks. One of the other topics that's been coming up a lot is the idea of doing a private listing versus going on to the open MLS. One of the big things on that is that national data is showing, they looked at this on Zillow and Realtor.com, that they found that off-market homes often sell for anywhere between 1% and 4% or more less than had they gone on the open market.
So don't try to be a tough guy. All right. Don't try to sell your house by yourself. Okay. Did you hear that? The average FSBO for sale by owner is getting 4% less, or the people that are trying to do in the broker, what do they call that? Off market.
Off market, yeah.
4% less.
4% is a big deal.
That's a big deal.
So a lot of these private listings, people want to do these, for different reasons. Some for privacy. And I should clarify, with the private listings, these are exclusive listings that agents are listing for people that are just not on the MLS. And so they're doing these things for privacy for sellers, maybe a little less disruption, less showings. They want a little bit more control over who's coming. But the problem is you're not being seen by as many people. And I actually had a client this year where the property went off the market and they decided to keep it as an office exclusive. And because of that, we were able to come in and we offered way less than 4% off the list price. And my clients got a phenomenal deal. And the best part is they didn't have to negotiate against anybody else.
Right.
Yeah, there's no people coming to see the house.
It's a ghost town. There's tumbleweeds flopping through the town.
You have less people coming through. It's not marketed properly, and you end up losing 4%.
What do you expect?
What do you expect?
And again, sometimes people are looking at the private listings. They're trying to see, maybe they're going to test the market on price, and they don't want to add the days on market up.
That kind of makes sense.
And so there are scenarios where I think it could work, like depending on the price range that you're in or like the uniqueness of your home. There's some validity to that it can be helpful. But at the end of the day, if you're trying to get the top dollar, going on the open MLS is kind of where to be. So if you're thinking private listing and you're trying to, maybe it's testing out the pricing to see what kind of response you get, and you don't want to waste days on market, you try it out for a period of time. But once you kind of get an idea of what the market's saying, then it's time to go to the open MLS.
I wonder what the percentage is of people who try to sell their homes on their own and end up going with a realtor afterwards.
So this year, they found 91% of sellers used an agent to sell their home.
The other 9% are still sitting in their houses waiting for a show.
No, did I tell you, at my old neighborhood, there was this house that was for sale by owner over 2 years. We would always drive by the sign. I tried to knock on their door so many times.
That was just a bored
They
old
wouldn't
guy.
even open the door. They opened the window. What do you want? And so, like, I of course give my spiel. Get away. I don't want to talk about it. So, like, I'm thinking, like, if I'm a buyer, you won't even let me, like, look at the house, and you don't even want to talk about it.
That's just a guy. He's got something else going on.
So, like,
He didn't want to sell.
He didn't want to sell. He just wanted to yell at people.
Yeah.
After 60 days, they're going to end up listing with a realtor because most of these FSBOs, especially in this market, it's a lot harder. This isn't a market where you can plop a sign in the ground and it sells.
I did get some of the sellers' frustrations back in 21, 22 when things were flying off the shelves. Some people were still throwing it. That I understand. In this market, it's just, I would not even try it.
No.
But even going to your point, like the people that wanted to list their own home because they're like, it's going to sell. It's the equivalent of having listed with a brand new green agent.
Yeah.
Because that agent lost those people so much money because they didn't know how to negotiate with the market we were in.
Sure.
I mean, think about how many of the homes that we got people $100,000+ more than what they were asking. And so on the FSBO side, people look at FSBOs and say, there's a deal I can get there.
Right.
Because you're trying to save money, so I'm going to try to save money.
Sure.
I never thought of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
right?
that is a lot of what our experience, comes into play. Like what we do, we're not just opening doors. We're giving you advice and we're helping you get the most for your property because that's what we do every day.
Right. Most people don't know what the market is. They don't know how to price their house. They don't know how to get their house ready.
And it's not always about the money. A lot of times it's about the terms.
Right.
It's about a lot of other things that could come up.
And this brings us almost to our next thing. You can't just use ChatGPT. ChatGPT is not going to help you sell your house.
No, but it can give you some good insight on what questions to ask a realtor, which I've had plenty of.
Yeah.
But it does not teach you how to do it.
Yeah.
It
Right.
does not teach you how to do
It
it.
does not teach you how to do it. It doesn't teach you how to get your home ready or price it correctly or market it. It's just not there.
It'll regurgitate, a good blog post.
Right.
But yeah, beyond that, I mean,
Well, we said earlier, all this AI and even the Zestimate on Zillow, I always tell people the Zestimate's really like the Kelly Blue Book of your house. Like sometimes it might land right on the mark, but other times it could be way off. So therefore, it's just not something I would take too seriously. And I tell my clients that. And also AI or ChatGPT, all that is input relative. So it's only pulling information that users are putting into it. So it's not going to get you any new information. It's certainly not going to, as we said earlier, touch on, this house over here. It's based off the algorithm. So a house sold over here that was 1,500 square foot, a house sold over here that was 1,500 square foot. But this one, if you look at the pictures, had a completely custom dining room or kitchen, totally renovated. The ChatGPT cannot tell the quality of the interiors. It's just pulling numbers. That's what it does. It
That's
just pulls
correct.
numbers.
Yeah. They won't know if you have a 2-car garage, a pool, or
Right.
no house in the back,
Yep.
which adds value.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's definitely very limited. And one of the things that we're changing in the way that we run our listings is because people are going to ChatGPT and Perplexity and all of those. Right now, the GPTs, they don't look through the photos.
Yep.
They're only reading the descriptions. You know, back in the day, the listing description was super important when you had one photo and you were in the newspaper, you know, and then in the last 10 years, you know, it's just all about the photos, and people weren't really reading through the descriptions necessarily. But now that ChatGPT and these other are sifting through those descriptions, you know, having better, more full descriptions about the property is going to really help sell and get in front of more people, because they otherwise wouldn't see it if they're making very specific searches, like asking for, you know, I want a house with a pool on a big backyard, you know, and I wanted to have a detached garage, or whatever the things may be. You know, the more input that we have on our listing descriptions, we're able to really get in front of those people.
So if you're seeing a realtor that says, I got a 3-bedroom rancher on ABC Street and it's modern, don't go with that agent.
It's not going to get you views.
It's not going to get you views.
And, you know, and then recently Zillow, just in the last month, they actually have they're now built into ChatGPT. So people are starting their searches and Zillow is feeding them those listings. So I definitely see that more and more people are getting access to more of this information, which honestly makes it way easier to then have the next conversations, because they're coming in armed with more information. But it doesn't take away what the agents are doing.
Right.
It just really changes the good agents will show the experience in the professionalism that they have beyond just opening a door or sending them listings.
Speaking of Zillow, didn't you say earlier that there's another company getting into the market?
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. So Google, actually, they're now entering the listing search game. And basically, they're working with a couple third parties to now, as people are searching online, they're going to be funneling people into property searches versus sending them necessarily to the third-party portals. So going to start having some competition with all these companies we market with.
That's good competition, right?
Yeah.
That's good competition.
No
I
more-
want that.
Yeah, no more
Yeah.
monopoly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lower the price of those marketing dollars.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Squeeze, get more juice out of the squeeze.
So as we close out the year, you know, there's some different things that I want buyers and sellers to be thinking about. For buyers, right now is a phenomenal time to buy. There are a lot of deals on the market, and as interest rates start coming down, there will be more competition coming out. And we were talking about this earlier, how all of a sudden, as soon as Christmas ended, boom, people were out.
Dude, the phone has
Yeah.
been buzzing.
Like crazy.
We said earlier, I say he's got 4 or 5 under contract that'll settle in 2026. You have 4, I have 4.
That's
Rob's
not-
got 50.
That's
I
not.
mean, it's,
That's not our whole team.
no,
though.
that's not even the whole team. We're absolutely, you know, that's so much different than the past
Yeah.
couple Januaries that I remember.
Yeah.
You know, I remember kind of grinding through January and then everything's falling in February. But this year, it seems like everybody's putting something. And that's just an indication of how things are going right now.
Yeah.
The deals, as Rob was saying, are there to be had. And I think it's a tremendous opportunity, especially since we pretty much, and we don't know, but we pretty much know the interest rates are going to come down.
Yeah.
So the smart thing is to get out there, find a good deal, get a good price on the house, negotiate the inspection items that you want to be repaired, take advantage of it, right? And then in 6 months, refi, drop your payment down even further. Now that is the true best deal possible.
Yeah.
Right now is a very, very good time to look for a house and shop for a house if you're in the market.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to avoid all that other stuff.
Yeah.
You don't want to wait till spring market, because if we're busy now,
Yeah.
spring is going to be crazy.
Correct. And I always ask people, when do you think is the right time to buy? Well, I was thinking about spring. Well, do you think, how many other people do you think are thinking that exact same thing?
Exactly.
A million?
All of them, pretty
All of
much, you know, all of them. So, yeah, take advantage.
There goes the inspections. There goes the able to negotiate.
Waiving the appraisal, 50 over. I mean, that's pretty much what's going to happen. If we get anywhere into, I think, even the low 5s. I mean, I think if we get in the low 5s, that's
If we
like,
get to mid 5, I think it's
Going to hit. Yeah.
It's going to be
Yeah,
crazy.
it's going to be crazy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That will definitely allow a lot more people to be able to purchase what they want.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Because that's the problem right now, is because the interest rates are so high, a lot of people aren't affording everything they want.
Exactly.
And so I think that that's going to make a big difference. And then when it comes to sellers, we're getting ready. We're coming into that spring market. In our area, it's that mid-February to mid-March is really kind of that hot spot, is where we see the most activity. So if you're thinking about listing coming up this year and you want to do it in the spring, don't wait for the June, July when everybody else is also listing.
Yeah.
Come out before there's more and more listings out there. Set yourself apart. And so if you're thinking about doing that, start thinking about how you can prep your house and make it show as well as possible. Because right now, people don't have the money or the mindset to make repairs and changes. So the more move-in ready it is, the faster it's going to sell for the more money.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, to wrap it up, 2025 brought normalization, not chaos. December confirmed that direction. And heading into 2026, the market rewards preparation, realism, and good advice. No, not hype and not fear.
Yep.
Right?
I love it.
You got anything else to add before we close, Rob?
Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a happy new year.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Stay tuned, because in 2026, we're going to be putting out a lot more content. We're going to have a lot more special guests lined up, and we're really excited to see what happens when these rates fall and how it's going to affect all you people that are thinking about buying and selling. So until next year, have a happy New Year's, and we'll see you then. Love you.
Bye, guys.
Take
Happy
care.
New Year.
Peace.